Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. All right, yesterday, 2 days ago, I got into my first ever serious argument at work, and it's a cautionary tale about what is and isn't safe to talk about at work. We all know the things not to talk about, right? Sex, religion, politics. We all know that. But I would add anything that are very passionate about, even if it's not exactly politics, but anything that you've developed over time and you're very passionate about. It's very easy to get lost talking about those things. I'm going to talk about it here because it's up to my viewers if they want to hear it or not. But one of my upsets about the holiday season isn't necessarily the fact that people take these holidays off. I understand the history of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and even to a lesser extent Halloween, and certainly Yom Kippur. It's not the fact that people take these holidays off. The problem is that most workplaces close on those days when I could be using those days for other things, right? So, for example, this Friday will be Mary Curry's birthday. I might not necessarily take that day off, but there are certainly other days that I would love to take off, like when there's a solar or a lunar eclipse, or personal events of some sort, or maybe right now I'm dating somebody in another country, right? I wish the Thanksgivings, the Christmases could be banked up for stuff like that. Now, why don't you travel during those holidays? Well, it's often very expensive. She might not be available, and all the other fun stuff, right? And so maybe I should use a better word. I often say we should cancel holidays. Maybe cancel is not exactly the right word. Do I mind if my colleagues take off Thanksgiving? Not at all. In fact, I would love for them to do that so that I could work during those days. Right? What I want is more choice of when to take those days off. Now, you can keep your schedule if you want. Under my plan, you could keep your schedule the way you want to. What I'm proposing is more choice. But 2 nights ago, I was talking about this in the break room at work. And long story short, it ended with my colleague pounding his fist on the table. Not pretty. Now, this is one of those things that it's a thesis that I've developed over a course of a long period of time. And to sit down and talk to somebody for 5 minutes doesn't go well, right? Ditto with any other thesis I've developed over a long period of time, right? For example, my relationship with myself, right? I have a romantic relation, not necessarily a sexual one, but a romantic relationship with myself. Trying to tell anybody any of that in 5 minutes is not going to go well. You can't crunch 15 years of life experiences into 5 minutes. Ditto with my healthy eating habits. People want to know how I eat the way I do and don't have cravings and all that. The problem is that they give me 5 minutes to explain. How can you crunch 10 years of experience and trial and error, right? It probably didn't take me 10 years to eat the way I did. It certainly took me at least a year or two of a lot of trial and errors, of lots of mess ups. And they want me to crunch that down in 5 minutes. Like, seriously, how can you do that, right? During the pandemic, or not during it, before the pandemic, I'm a tutor, and I often find gigs on Facebook, on Craigslist, and a lot of these students and or their parents want me to go into the kid's home, and that can be tricky for me because I have chemical sensitivities. Some people smoke cigarettes in their home, some people smoke marijuana, and they're back in Seattle at least. Some people smoke marijuana in their homes. Some people plug in air fresheners in their homes. And I've developed this really good sixth sense when I'm talking to the parents. I don't even know how I do it, by the way. Just by their mannerism, their vocabulary over the phone, or just by appearance, I can tell if they use those things. I don't even know how I do it. I don't. I really don't. And so even I can't explain it to myself. And some people want me to explain to them in 5 minutes. That's a really good way to get people pissed off and misunderstood and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm recording this for two reasons. Number one, as a cautionary tale. Number two, I want to make clear that I'm not against somebody who wants to celebrate Thanksgiving or Christmas, just like I'm not against somebody wanting to celebrate their birthdays, right? But we don't take those days as company-wide off, right? The one person who wants to celebrate might take off, and maybe they're friends, right? At best, right? That's how I want people to think about it, right? So if this subject comes up at work again, I'll probably direct my colleague to this video. Otherwise, it's just going to be a heated exchange, right? This is the Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum.